everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. If this is your first visit or one of your first few visits, welcome here. Today, it's Sunday evening, 22nd of August. It's already almost 8 o'clock at night. I'm probably crazy for starting this now, but I'm going to start making a couple of batches of peach jam. I got a flat of peaches, which I showed you, I think I showed you in my Superstore grocery haul the other day. Yes, I did. And I believe there was 24 peaches in that. I have 16 in the pot here right now. I'm going to add some water and put them on to boil, and then I have to put them in an ice water bath, and that process is called blanching. They don't have to stay in the hot water very long, just a little bit, just about a minute or so or less, and then they go into, I'll put a sink of water, ice water over there, and they'll go in there, and then provided that they are ready to, that they're ripe enough, which they are. I've been touching them and they are. You can push on them a little bit. So yeah, they definitely are ripe. The skins, the peels should fall right off. So I'm going to make, what I always make is cooked jam. So I'm going to make peach jam, cooked jam tonight. And it takes 6 cups of chopped pears or peaches or nectarines. So I could do this with nectarines as well. I do have nectarines, but not enough probably to make 4 cups. And quite often what I do rather than chop them is I quite often will puree them a little bit in the blender. Then a 1/4 cup of lemon juice and 7½ cups of sugar, and then 2 pouches of Certo liquid pectin. There is also pectin, like Certo brand, that is in crystal form. I've never used that. I've always just used liquid pectin, and I've been doing this since 1994, so I just stick with what I know. I'm sure that the powder, the crystal pectin would probably be just fine, but this is what I know to do, is to use the liquid. That's the way I've always done it. Sometimes I'll branch out and try new things, but this is a case where I don't want to fix what isn't broken. So first things first, I'm going to get you set up on my tripod, and I will show you, I'll bring you back once I have the peaches almost at a boil and when I'm ready to transfer them to the ice water. Alright, so I will be back shortly. Okay, I am back. Forgive all the background noise that's going on here. First of all, the tripod is sitting right on top of the dishwasher, which is running at the moment. And in behind me, off camera, behind the phone here that I'm recording on, is the cold water is filling the kitchen sink. And I will add ice cubes to it closer to the time that I need to put the peaches in there. I'm not going to do it just yet, or they'll melt, and then it will be kind of futile to have to do it this early. But I've got the peaches covered in water, warm water, hot water, whatever, and it's the burner's on high, trying to get it to a boil. I need to get the dishwasher run because that is what I use to sanitize my jars. So shortly, when the dishwasher cycle is done, then we will empty the clean dishes out of there, get them put at least away or off to the side, and then I can put my jars in there. Now, I run the clean jars through. They're already clean. I just run them through a bit of a dishwasher cycle to sanitize them. But for the rings and the seals, those I put in a saucepan on another burner on the stove, and I put those in boiling water to sanitize those. So, got about enough cold water sitting for right now, and the peaches are not at a boil yet, and they don't need to boil very long once they do boil. So I'm just going to put the recipe off to the side, and I'm going to get a pot holder ready so I can transfer those peaches to the sink when I need, because they don't need to boil more than about a minute. And then they have to go directly into the cold water. And then from there, when I peel the skins off, I'll probably just pop them into a big mixing bowl. I'm hoping to get enough to make 2 batches of jam tonight. And my daughter was lamenting that, oh no, they're all going to be in the jam and there won't be any peaches to eat. So I did hold 8 peaches back. If I need more than what I have here to make the 2 batches of jam, then I can quickly blanch a couple more. But if not, then those ones will be set aside to eat. And if this 16 peaches, if this is too much for 2 batches of jam, sure, I could probably make a 3rd batch, but I don't have enough jars to do all that, plus all the extra Certo. I do have a couple of extra pouches of Certo and a few more jars, but I am planning on making pear jam and choke cherry jelly this week, so I need to just kind of stick with 2 batches if I can. And then what I'll do is, if I have leftover of the ones I blanched, I'll maybe make a pie out of them tomorrow. And then whatever's left over in the fridge, provided I don't need to blanch anymore. I'm just not sure how many, I don't remember last year how many I needed to blanch to make 2 batches of jam, so I'm not certain. I think the 16 I have here will be more than enough, but if not, I can quickly blanch a few more. But if it's more than enough, then rather than blanch the rest and make a 3rd batch of jam and use up jars and Certo when I need to kind of reserve some for the other stuff I'm making this week, I'll probably just make those into a pie. We'll see, just kind of see where it goes. I just don't remember. I should have probably taken note how many peaches it took last year when I did it. But I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a year. And then, yeah, I am planning on making pear jam as well. I did get a couple of flats of pears at my work today after work. I haven't made pear jam in many years. And then, so I got 2 of those, so there's 18 pears altogether, 9 in each flat. And then, for those of you that are watching who are from the US, which I believe are most of you, you probably are not familiar with choke cherries. That's a pretty common cherry here in Canada. They're not really big. They do not taste good on their own. They're called choke cherries for a reason. They're very bitter. However, they do make a very good jam or very good jelly. I've never tried it with jam because you'd have to take the pits out of them all, and that is so incredibly tedious. They're not a big cherry. So I'm just going to make jelly out of them. Making the jelly is also a bit tedious because you have to strain everything through cheesecloth. But it's easier than having had to pit all the cherries first and get just the pulp to make jam. It's just, I mean, pitting the sour cherries alone this summer to make sour cherry jam, that was enough because they're a larger cherry. But to pit choke cherries would be quite time consuming because they're smaller than sour cherries, so it really would take a while. Now, I found a listing for choke cherries on Facebook Marketplace, so we're supposed to be going to pick those up tomorrow. They live just outside the city in another small town nearby, so we'll grab those. Somebody else already picked them for us. They're only $10 for a 4-liter basket. That's not bad at all. It's a pretty good deal considering somebody went to the labor of picking all that for us. And I believe they've already pre-washed them. I don't know if they've de-stemmed them or not. But again, even the stems, that's not a big issue. You're just going to be adding water to the choke cherries and boiling them for 15 minutes. And then from that point, pits, stems, whatever, you're just simply going to be putting it all through a sieve or all through cheesecloth just to get the juice. So, I mean, most likely we'll look for stems on them when we're prepping them for boiling, but it's not nearly as bad as if I was making jam other than having to pit them all. In this case, peaches really aren't that hard. You just blanch them, and then when they go right from the boiling water into an ice water bath for a minute, and then the skin should fall right off if they're ripe, and even if they're not, you can still get the skins off. They just take a little more work. And then from there, you can either chop them, or as in my case, I basically put them in a blender, puree them a little bit, and measure out the appropriate amount. Add your sugar, your lemon juice, and away you go. Now, sometimes a lot of jams do have foam on the top when they are done. When you hit that rolling boil and then you add your pectin, quite often you're supposed to skim any foam off the top. Some jams are really known for it. Strawberry jam is one of the worst ones for foam. A tip for this, I can't remember how bad peach jam was for it. I think there might be some foam that comes on this, but I'm not sure how much. But a tip for that is to put about a tablespoon or so of margarine or butter, but usually I use margarine, in there as well. When I put the peach puree, the sugar, the lemon juice in there, add a little bit of about a tablespoon or so of margarine as well. And then that really helps reduce the foam down to a bare minimum. Another tip I was told is take a couple of tablespoons, like metal tablespoons you would use on your dining room table, and put them in the freezer ahead of time and make sure they're really, really cold. So the combination of about a tablespoon or so of margarine in your fruit mixture that you're going to bring to a rolling boil, plus the fact that you're skimming using a really, really ice cold metal tablespoon, the combination of those two things really helps make, not only, the margarine makes the skimming, the foam very minimal, but the ice cold tablespoon makes skimming the foam off much simpler. And that's the first time I've tried it this year when using a cold tablespoon, but it's a tip I was given online in a jam and jelly making group, and it works wonders. So, plus I was never using a tablespoon of margarine before. I was only putting about a teaspoon. So this is quite a bit more. It's like 3 times the amount. And so I don't know which made the difference, if it was using the cold spoon or the increase in margarine, but either way, the combination of the two things made things so much easier to get the foam off, at least in the strawberry jam. And then raspberry and Saskatoon, they don't have nearly as much foam to skim off in the first place. They're not too bad. I can't recall how much peach jam has. I know there's a little, there's always a little bit in whatever kind of jam you make. So I'm just not certain how much there is in peach jam. But like I said, it's been a year since I did it. But I'm about to find out because we're making it tonight. So I'll bring you back here shortly once these come to a boil, and then as I transfer them into the ice water, and I'll show you how easy it is to get the peels off. It's really extremely simple, provided they're ripe enough, and I think they are. And even if they're not perfectly ripe and you have to work a little bit to get the skins off, you still can. You just have to work a little bit more at it, but they're really not difficult to peel at all. Blanching them is the best way to go. So I'll bring you back here shortly once this is back to a boil, or once I get it to a boil, that is. Okay, I don't know how much you can see, but bubbles are starting to slowly break the surface, so I'm going to, in the background, off camera, start getting some ice cubes in this water in the sink, and get that cold enough to get it ready to go. I don't have a lot of ice cubes prepped, but it shouldn't take a lot, as long as it's cold. As long as it's quite cold water, it shouldn't take too much to get them off, to get the skin to come off. I only had 3 ice cubes in that tray. That's not good, but I have another tray that has a full tray, although not large ice cubes, but it should be enough to make it ice cold. That is the idea. And you can see bubbles are starting to break the surface, so once they're boiling, it doesn't need to sit for too long. I've got my ice cubes in there. They're probably going to be dissolved or melted by the time you see them. And the dishwasher's draining, so it should be close to the end of its cycle. Although I then have to let it go through its dry cycle before we can take stuff out. And then I'll load my clean jars in there to sterilize. But that's okay, it's coming along. Just gonna check my other ice cube tray in the deep freeze in the next room and see if it's frozen. I highly doubt it is ready, but I'll check. Not even close. I just put it in there in that deep freeze not long ago. Not even close to ready. So that's okay. That is alright. I didn't expect them to be ready, but thought maybe some miracle might have occurred and they would be done. But no. Yeah, what? Bubbles are breaking the surface. It's not a full boil, but they're getting there. Okay, we're back again, and you can see now that it's not just the bubbles breaking the surface anymore, that they're now starting to boil a little bit more vigorously, a little bit more, a little bit more. So I'm just going to let that go for about a minute, 60 seconds or so. And then as soon as that's up, I'm going to move these over, just going to turn the pot around and start getting these ready to go into the ice water. Yeah, it's boiling pretty good right now. They don't need to go for more than about a minute, if that. And then the cold water should be enough to have them to take the skin off, no problem. So what I'm going to do, since it's boiling away, I'm going to slowly turn you around, get you positioned facing the sink. I don't know if that's a really smooth transition or not, but whatever, we'll do our best. And yeah, you can't even see the ice cubes hardly in here. There's a few in the corner over there, way over here, that are almost all melted already. Oh, that's okay. We didn't have a lot of ice cubes. The water's plenty cold enough, I think, for the peels to come off. Got about 15 seconds left here, and then I'm going to move the pot over and get started ladling them into my actual ladle is in the dishwasher, but this spoon will suffice to spoon them one by one in there. And then I've got to kind of rinse this pot out after and dry it out and stuff, because that's the same pot I'm going to use to put the peach puree and the sugar into to make the jam. So, let me get these guys moved over. It's heavy, so I gotta be careful. It's very full and heavy. Okay, there we go. Pull that away from the bread box. All right, so we're going to start ladling them in, and then I'll move the pot out of the way so you can see what I mean about the skin coming off, because it's some of the skin's already falling off. You can see it's already dripping off just from being in the boiling water. So certainly adding them to the cold water, it will take minimal effort, if any. I'm probably just going to let the skin just remain in the sink, and then I'll scoop it out of there to throw it in the garbage after, but it won't take much effort at all to get these peeled. I can see a lot of them are falling off them right in the sink, so that's good. That's exactly what we want. And then I'm going to put the pot back on a cool burner and let it cool, and once the other sink is available, which it's not completely available, then I'll drain the water in there and give the pot a bit of a rinse, so that it's ready to go for the jam ingredients. Okay, these are good sized peaches too. They're not overripe, but they are enough that they're ripe enough that when you push on them, they're soft, like you can feel a little indent. So that's good. You don't want them like overripe and getting moldy or anything like that, because then they've gone too far. But, well, I mean, I guess as long as they aren't moldy, like, if they are soft, it's okay. As long as you don't want to get to that point where they're so overripe that they're moldy, you don't want that. Okay, so and as you can see, I've got the plastic bag off the side there with some peaches left over to put in the fridge, unless I need to use them at all, but I'm hoping to just use what I've got here, and those will be good for just eating or maybe to make a fruit salad or what have you. Just trying to decide where best to put this. Okay, but you can see the peel is coming right off. That one, well, not completely. I'm going to put the bowl right here actually. I'm trying to find the best place to put the bowl. Got to get my hands right down in here and kind of work the peel off. Some of them are a little bit, some of them are falling right off. This is one that is loose, but not, I have to actually physically peel it a little bit. Those ones I might just set aside because I do have to work at them a bit more. And it's a little bit tricky because even though this is cold water, these peaches are hot. So every once in a while I'll dip my hand right down in the cold water with them because the fruit itself is hot. It just came out of scalding hot water. So I have to remind myself that this fruit is hot to the touch. Okay, yeah, this one isn't coming off as easily. It is coming off, but I am having to kind of like rub a bit with my thumb and get under the grain and kind of push the peel off a little bit, whereas some of them, they just fall off. Okay, that one's good. And then there's a little bit of the top. And then of course we'll have to put them on a cutting board after and kind of cut them open and make sure that we don't get the pit. You don't want that. Don't even want that going in the blender, obviously. Just get those pits right out of there. And chuck those out. Some of the peel is coming off real easy, some of it not as much. I did the same process last year when I did apricot jam. I don't know if my apricots just weren't completely ripe or what, but it was a lot more work getting the peel off them, even with blanching them. So I didn't do apricot jam this year. It is good, but I don't know if it was just that they weren't completely ripe or what, but it was a bit of a fight last year too. I think it was my first time making apricot jam, and I figured it would be pretty much exactly the same as this because they're so similar to peaches, but it wasn't quite as easy as peach jam. So it is already 8:22. I don't know why I take on doing jam later in the evening. I guess because I work during the day, but don't really like to work on Sundays. Usually that's my day to go to church. My work doesn't usually put me on Sundays. And if they do, they usually put me on the 3:30 to 9 shift so I can do church in the morning. However, my Saturday shift at work was canceled, and so they offered me a 10:30 to 3:30 today to make up for losing the hours yesterday. So it wasn't something I had to do, but at the same time, paychecks have been a little bit meaner lately, so trying to get a few extra hours here and there is not a bad idea. So I sacrificed church for that, and I am working next Sunday too, but I'm back to my 3:30 to 9. They did say I won't work every Sunday, which is good, but because usually church is out by 12:30 at the latest, so I would have time to go from church to work, but it's like, at the same time, I like to have some Sundays just off to do church and do a family dinner or whatever and not have to worry about rushing from one to the other and just have it be the Lord's Day or church day and not have to worry about working. But so I've been kind of stuck at my primary job at 3 shifts a week for the last year. I don't really know exactly why, although just cutting hours here and there. I used to be at 4 shifts a week, and then now this week I had a 4-shift week, but I know that's partly because one of the girls is on holidays. But then with adding in the shift today, that means I'm working 5 days this week. And normally they do tend to give me more afternoon and evening shifts. So that means a lot of times I'm working till 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, or sometimes even 10 o'clock, depending on what the shift is. So it's going to be a challenging week. I do have tomorrow off, and I have Wednesday off, but then I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and next Sunday, so I do work 4 in a row. But from Sunday to Saturday this week, I actually have 5 days, which I haven't done a 5-day week there in quite a while. And then my secondary job at a lunch program at an elementary school, school is resuming in September. Here in Canada, school starts usually the Wednesday after Labor Day and goes till June 30th. So as far as I know, I haven't heard from my supervisor yet, but as far as I know, we're starting back on June 7th with the students. So we'll see. And I'm only there at school whatever days I'm not at my main job. So school knows I'm casual. They know that I have to revolve that around my primary job, and they're good with that. But once I get my schedule for the store for that week, then I can tell them what days I can do the school. And I don't know, I struggle with doing 2 jobs because the older I get, the harder it is on my body to do 2 jobs. But financially, it's been important for me, especially because I'm only part-time at the store, to work the second part-time job. Now we are doing things to reduce or at least get a plan to eliminate our debt together, and once that is in place, if I can afford to either give up the school or at least just work it 2 days a week or whatever, and not feel like, it's one thing to choose to work there, but it's another thing entirely to do it because you have to. See, now this one doesn't even have a peel left on it. It all just came right off in the sink. You can't tell, but it's so completely smooth and slippery in my hand. Like, I know there's no peel on that one. That one just slipped right off in the sink. I can see a bunch of peels in the bottom of the sink waiting for me to scoop out and put in the garbage. This one's coming off pretty well too. Got a few left. About a half a dozen or so to go. Hopefully my chatter isn't boring to you while we do this, but this is the only, I figured I'd rather chatter away about stuff than have you just watch my forearms moving in a sink that you can't see what's in the bottom of it. Because again, this isn't the best tripod, so it's not something I can angle it down to really very much to show you what I'm doing. So this is coming off pretty good, and now the fruit isn't quite as hot to handle because it's been in the cool water for a while, so it's cooling down a bit. And let's see. I gotta make room in my fridge too because we do have to go get those choke cherries tomorrow. And right now I don't have room in my fridge for 3 ice cream pails, choke cherries. I just don't. I don't even know what all's in there. I know I moved the potatoes in the fridge because it's fruit fly season here, and I often leave that bag of potatoes on the floor in the kitchen, but fruit flies will gravitate to those too, so I didn't want them to put anything out on the counter that would give them cause to congregate, because we already had some fruit flies here last week and I got rid of them, and I don't want them coming back. So I don't know, I'll have to see. There might be some leftovers or something in the fridge that are getting in the way, but I'm picking up the choke cherries tomorrow, but I won't be able to do anything with them until I work Tuesday. I'm probably not going to do, I could do them tomorrow night. I could try and do choke cherry jelly tomorrow night. Maybe, we'll see. If not, I work Tuesday, so I'm going to do it then. So maybe either Tuesday night after work or else Wednesday. So if I don't get to them till Wednesday, that means I have to make room in the fridge because they have to sit somewhere. But maybe I should just bite the bullet and do them tomorrow night after we get them, just like I'm doing these tonight. But it's 8:30 now, and I am nowhere near done with peach jam. I'm just simply blanching the peaches, and then we still have to get the dishwasher unloaded and start sterilizing things and get the peaches pureed and the sugar measured out. And then from there, it's away to the races, because once the jars and the seals and stuff are sterilizing or sanitizing, I'm trying to combine the 2 words apparently, then it's fine. Once those are sanitizing and once you get at least 1 batch of peaches measured out, but then it's not too bad. Then, you know, then I can get the peaches and the sugar and stuff measured out for the first batch, get that going, and get the second batch measured in the background. Actually, what I'd probably do is measure 1 batch into the pot and then get the other batch measured off to the side, so that when I'm finished the first batch, I can just jump directly into the second batch. Okay, we're down to our last 3 peaches to peel. This one's coming apart really nice. What a mess in my sink, though. Oh my goodness. Definitely make sure none of this goes down the drain. I don't think most of it would. This peel probably wouldn't go down anyway, mostly. Okay, not too much left on that one. Thing is, I don't have any frozen pie crusts in the house right now, so if I do decide to make some into a pie, I'm either going to have to bite the bullet and make some pie crust from scratch tomorrow, which I'm not very good at. I only just recently made a batch of pie crusts earlier this year for the first time in well over 20 years. I've just been doing frozen crusts, and they turned out well. But then my last batch, a couple months ago, was a failure, so I don't know what I'm doing. I think I didn't add enough liquid to it. Although some people have said that it probably might have been the humidity in the air too, might have had something to do with it. I don't know. So if I do want to make a peach pie, I either have to buy some pie crust or make a batch. And my recipe for pie crust makes 6 pie crusts. So that's a big commitment. If I'm making pie crust, then I need to be prepared to make 3 pies. Or, well, and I could. Like, I could totally make a peach pie and I could cook up a chicken and make one into a chicken pot pie, but then I need to get some half and half for that. Or I could make an apple pie or something, or just another peach pie for the freezer. Okay, that is it. That is all 16 peaches blanched, ready to go. Got some well, not pits, but the little tops right here I'm gonna throw in the garbage. And the dishwasher just finished, so it needs to do its dry cycle. And then from there, we will start pureeing the peaches and measuring sugar and all that good stuff and sterilizing jars, and off we go. So I will bring you back once I'm ready to start the next step, which will be to get the, to get the ingredients measured out into the pot. I do need to rinse my pot out first before I can do anything. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, we're back, and now I'm on to pulsing the peaches. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not making cheese jam, everybody. You can see by the messy measuring cups, I've already pulsed 4 cups for one batch. And this took 3, 6, 7 of the peaches that I have here. So I have a feeling that the 16 that I have might end up being, depending on how big the rest of these other ones are. I don't know. They're about the same though. I might not need that many. Okay, let me get a few more of these in here. I'll see if I get another 4 cups. I'm sure I will, no problem. Oh, better take the pit out. See, I had no problem taking the pit out when the camera wasn't on, but now that the camera was on, I almost forgot to take the pit out. Okay. Really doesn't take much. Okay, I gotta figure this out. I was about to put the pit in the blender and the peach in the bowl with the pits. All because the camera's on, I'm making silly mistakes. But, whatever. I'm human, not perfect. Don't claim to be. I think I would have figured it out sooner or later, though. I would hope. Okay. I've got 3 left in the bowl after this one. So let me see what I might do. If this is enough, I may put these 3 in the fridge in a container and then blanch 1 or 2 more tomorrow to have enough to make a peach pie. And I'll either have to make a big 6 batch or a big 6 crust batch of homemade, or maybe I'll break down and spend a few dollars on some frozen crusts. I don't know. We'll see. I can't remember how many it took to make a peach pie last time. I don't remember how many peaches it took last time when I did that. It was like that. I did think I did that last year when I had peaches. I don't think I've done it since. Okay, so. And I don't want it completely liquid. I mean, it is going to be pretty liquidy, no real lumps, but I don't necessarily, not necessarily just making baby food either. But mind you, if it was chopped, chances are as it boils, and I'm using my wooden spoon to stir it up, odds are it's probably going to get mashed down anyway, so it's totally fine if it's mostly liquid. Okay, so I need 2 cups. This mark here is a 2 cup mark. That mark there is 2.5, so I need to kind of just stick with the 2 cup mark. And my other one is a 2 cup measuring cup, so. Okay, that's good. 2 cups again. Not quite this time. Okay, so I guess maybe I will puree 1 or 2 more of the last 3 in that bowl. I'm guessing 2. I always have trouble getting this to sit in the right spot. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 peach might do the job, I don't know. I don't need a lot. I'm at the 1.5 cup mark. I'll just do 2, and then that means I have 1 left. So I guessed just about right when it came to blanching. So I mean, we could either just eat that one, or I could blanch a few more tomorrow and make it into a pie. I'll have to see. here, I feel. Okay. This should be more than enough. Oh yeah. I'm just going to top up that batch that I have already in the sauce in the pot. Okay. That will do it. So I have my 4 cups of fruit. I'm going to set that aside. That's for batch number 2 because I've already got the first batch measured out. That's actually a little over, a tiny bit over the 2-cup mark, but I think that should be okay. This one I'll just put away in the fridge in a container or else somebody will eat it. Okay, so once we get the dishwasher unloaded and I'm ready to start sanitizing jars and rims and seals and stuff, then I will be back because at that point I'll be getting things going as far as sanitizing, and I'll be getting the sugar and the peaches and lemon juice going on the stove top behind me. I've got 1 batch already measured out. 1 batch of fruit already measured. I just need to add the sugar, the lemon juice, the margarine, and then on the back burner over there I'll have a small saucepan with rims and seals boiling, sanitizing while I sanitize jars in the dishwasher. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, so, alright, so right now all I'm going to do, I haven't started sanitizing anything yet because the dishwasher needs to be unloaded. So I'm not going to start trying to boil this yet or anything, but I have my 7.5 cups of sugar measured out into this bowl. And I'm going to just stir this in here. Oops, make sure it's in a bowl and not on the stove top. And then I'm going to, once that's blended in, I'm going to add my lemon juice. Actually, I've got my quarter cup of lemon juice measured out. And then I'm going to grab a tablespoon to do my tablespoon of margarine. And I've got a saucepan I need to measure out lids or rims, as you might call them, and seals into that. With some boiling water for that. I just have to do the lemon juice and the margarine and then get these guys boiling and get the jars sanitizing in the dishwasher, and we're good to go for batch number 1. Oops, it wants to turn on me here. Okay, there we go. I've got the peach puree for 1 batch in there and the sugar is blended in already. I just need to add my lemon juice and my margarine, and I have just started a pot with the rims and seals. It's going to take a little while for them to come to a boil. This area here will be used shortly. I'll have to put some pot holders down here, and that will be where I put the hot jars of jam once I fill the jars. So I'm going to get a few more pot holders out, but let me get the quarter cup of lemon juice added. Not in a huge hurry to start boiling this yet because the seals and rims haven't come anywhere near close to boil. So I'll get this started shortly, and I'm also going to get my box of Certo ready to go because there's 2 pouches in a box, and a batch of peach jam requires, I believe, 2 pouches. Yes, it does. So a whole box. Oh, there's still a piece of saran wrap in the margarine. I guess I'm from when I used it to grease something the other day. All right, there we go. Tablespoon margarine. In there. Oops, go down the side. There we go. Okay. There's still a little bit more in the spoon. I'm only going to do 2 batches. And the amount of peaches that I used gave just a little bit extra puree. And I think all we're really going to do with that is we'll probably just maybe have our ice cream yet tonight. It's 9:17 right now. I don't know if we really want ice cream tonight or not, but I might just put it in the fridge in a container and we can have it. You can mix it into some yogurt. I'm not a yogurt fan, but my daughter is. Or you could just have it on ice cream or what have you. So it's just about a cereal bowl that's 2/3 full of puree. So probably be nice if it was warm over ice cream, but it could easily be reheated. And I've got my tongs. I'm going to need those for fishing the rims and seals out of the pot, because once they are boiling, they will be too hot to handle otherwise. I'm going to grab a couple of other pot holders to put down just to get ready. And this batch makes 8 cups or 4 500 milliliter jars. So I've got about 8 of those jars in there because I'm making a double batch, and I've also got 2 of the 1 cup or 250 ml jars in the dishwasher getting ready to sanitize. Just because even though it says it makes 8 cups, sometimes you get a little extra. I could take a half cup jar and put it in there and sanitize it too, but I'm gonna eyeball it and see what I get out of this first batch first. And if I get a full 1 cup extra jar out of it, great. But if it's just a trace, then I will just go and get a half cup jar and quickly sanitize it in the boiling water with the rims and seals, because it's a small enough jar that's only a half cup size. It would easily fit in there. I might actually pause this and run downstairs to the basement and just grab one of those cups, so just in case I need it, it will be ready to go. I'll be right back. All right, so I can see some bubbles starting to break the surface in the pot over here with the rims and seals, so I'm going to start turning the heat on here and getting this going. What do I need to do? Oh yeah, my Certo box. Need to get this opened. There's 2 pouches. I'm just gonna get them set aside and dig a pair of scissors out just so everything's ready to go. I've got a clean dishcloth off to the side so that when I'm ladling or scooping the jam into the jars, I can wipe the rims, wipe the edges down a bit before I put the rims and seals on, so there's nothing compromising anything there. I'm gonna get my lemon juice measured out for my second batch. That bottle is officially done, so I'm gonna rinse that out, possibly recycling. It is garbage and recycling day tomorrow, but I'm not taking it outside because the recycling bin is full, so no point in that. I'll get the new one opened. I know that's off camera, but I just gotta get it open. Oh my goodness, that's tight. There we go. Want to get everything prepped as much as I can. Find my scissors. Okay. And the recipes I use are just the insert from inside the Certo jar or Certo box. Although I don't use these ones because these ones are newer and they have a lot less recipes. The one I have has no cooked jams like freezer jams, cooked jams and cooked jellies, lots of recipes on there, and this is probably a good 10 years old. I find that the ones that come in the Certo boxes now have much less recipes, much fewer recipes than the old one. Like there's no cooked jams, and there's the jellies and the cooked jams, but to me there are, you can see there's only a few cooked jam recipes, very few compared to what I have, whereas this one has all these. So I like the older one. These recipes are still totally valid, but you know, the newer boxes, the insert in there doesn't give nearly the number of recipes that the old boxes did. You need to keep stirring this a little bit, get this to a rolling boil, and once this hits rolling boil, then I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute, and after those 60 seconds are up, I'm going to remove from heat, add the Certo, and then skim the foam off if there is any. And that's where the ice cold tablespoons come into play, because they help skim the foam off quite easily. And that's also where hopefully having added my tablespoon of butter as opposed to a lower amount will also come into play. The butter, you can see here, margarine is not melted in there yet, but that's what it looks like so far with the peaches, lemon juice, and sugar, and the bit of margarine. It has not melted all in yet, but it will. And my rims and seals are starting to boil, so I'm going to turn the dishwasher on for a minute, get it filling up with water. Let it run for a little bit, and then I'll turn it off for a bit, because I still have to sanitize batch number 2 of jars as well as we go. Now, some people do a hot water bath, like a canning bath after, once you get it ladled into the jars and the rims and seals all on, the lid's on and screwed on and everything. I don't do that. I don't have a pressure canner to put them in. I've never done that. I could probably use this pot, I suppose, a similar idea, but I've never done that. And I have been doing this since 1994, so 27 years. And I've never had even one jar. I've had a couple not sealed, but those ones I know, if they're not sealed, they go right in the fridge and they get used up right away. But I've never had one jar that is sealed that has ever molded. So I don't do the paraffin wax, I don't do the hot water bath after. Some might say, oh, you really should do the hot water bath, but if there's a handful of people that do order jams from me, but they're not like Joe Public. I'm not going to farmers markets or fairs and selling them. They're people that I know or friends of friends. So they know that I'm just an amateur. This is not a professional kitchen or anything like that. They know what they're getting. And they know me mostly. Most people do anyway. I only have about 10 people or so that order from me. The rest of them are just used by our family or our gifts at Christmas time, that kind of thing, or gifts to neighbors. So it's not like I'm advertising this as being like something for sale or a commercial, you know, that it's made in a commercial kitchen, because obviously it's not. I'm just a homemaker, housewife, well, work outside the home, but you know what I mean. I'm just an average person that just simply does this as a hobby in my own kitchen. But it's a hobby that I'm reasonably good at because I have been doing it for 27 years. But I don't advertise myself as a professional or sell them in farmers markets or anything like that, or try and tout myself as being something I'm not, or a restaurateur or anything like that. Okay, I'm going to give this a rest for a minute, and then I'll turn it back on shortly. I'll turn this back on in a minute once we're at rolling boil, and I'll show you what it looks like at that point. Okay, you can see this is now at a boil, and I believe that you would consider this to be, because it is boiling pretty hard, to be a full rolling boil. So, and I've turned the heat down on this, on the rims and seals, because they are boiling over. So I'm going to turn the timer on to 60 seconds. And it's going to just rolling boil for a full minute. Got to stay on top of stirring constantly, or else it will spit at you, and that does not feel good, especially on bare arms or bare feet like I have. So we're going to keep going at this. And then as soon as that timer goes off, we're going to turn that heat off and remove this to the next burner over. There is no heat. And we'll start putting our Cerdo in, and then we'll see if there's any foam or very much foam to have to skim off. So it won't take too long here. We've got about 30 seconds left. Just stir it constantly though. Partly so it doesn't like burn or scorch to the bottom of the pot, but also just so it doesn't spit at you too, because it will do that. Just make sure you're stirring in the middle and the edges as much as you can. Stir it constantly for that 60 seconds. It smells really good in here. Unfortunately, I can't translate that into a video, but it does smell good, and believe me, it does taste good too. I know these homemade jams are good. It's a very hot process doing a cooked jam, especially in the heat of summer, but you know what? It's well worth the effort. Okay, I'm going to turn that burner off and slide this over to the next burner. Okay, now we need to open our Cerdo. And we're just going to squeeze it into there. Doesn't look like there's a ton of foam in there right now, so that's good. Maybe it will stay that way. If that's the case, then I froze my spoons for nothing, but that's all right. It's better to have them ready just in case and not need them, and then to need them and have them not prepared. Yeah, I don't see hardly any foam at all. I think we're going to be just fine. So I'm going to turn the jars back on and just make sure they have a chance to really heat back up here on the jar, on the seals too, because they're not really boiling anymore. I turned it down quite low, but it basically almost stopped boiling. I have it so low, so I'm just going to keep it going. 2 pouches of pectin. Squeeze as much out of these pouches as we can. That's why I fold them over as I go. There we go. That is pretty good. Okay, I'll throw that in the garbage. Okay. Let that in. Again, it's off the heat. And I'll show you. If there was foam in here, you would see it around the edges particularly. Now, I probably won't film doing batch number 2 just because it'll be a repeat of this, but I will show you the ladling of these into the jars, and then I will come back and show you what everything all looks like once it's all said and done, once I have both my batches complete. Okay, so that's good. I should be good to go for ladling them into jars right away. I'll put them on a pot holder, and I will start rescuing some of these. I'm going to wet my cloth so that if I need to wipe anything off the edges of the jars, I can, and no doubt I will. There's usually a little bit of drip, a little bit of leakage. Okay, one more pot holder there. And I'm going to get a measuring cup to ladle it out, or to measure. I don't use a ladle, I use a measuring cup usually. Okay, these are well boiled already, so I'm going to put those the heat as well. Use my spoon rest to put this measuring cup when not in use. This I'll set off to the side for the time being. I'm going to need it for round 2. And I'm going to have a couple of jars. Let's start labeling these in the jars. Should get 4 of these large jars out of it. And possibly, if there's a little extra, there might possibly be a 5th jar, maybe a 1-cup jar or a 1/2 cup. I did put a 1/2 cup jar in with the rims and seals and boiled it just in case, just so it's ready. And if I don't need it, that's fine. I'll save it for when I do the pear or the choke cherry. I might need it then. This is very hot touching it at some point or other. Sometimes I end up putting it down on the pot holder because it is hot. Yes, that time is now. I'm going to put it down right now because it's hot. And I'll use my spoon rest just to, whoops, well, this wants to fall over. Told you this tripod is not the greatest creation ever. Not the best. It'll do, but it's not great. Will it sit still? No, it's not sitting still. Sorry, this is so wobbly, guys. There. Okay, we're good. Just wipe this off the rim because you want that seal to sit nicely on top. I don't want there to be any trace of food or fruit or anything sitting there getting in between, just causing anything to compromise the seal at all. So I'm going to put that there. And I need to get a rim. These are hot because it's hot water. And a seal. Now these I never reuse. The jars I can reuse, that is fine. The rings or rims, whichever you prefer to call them, you can reuse. The seals, some people do reuse them. I do not. You can buy boxes of replacement seals, and I always use fresh ones. I just don't ever, I feel like they're always compromised once they've been used. Turn this up a little bit so you can see. You can get boxes like this, and there's about a dozen replacement seals. So I get those. And if you're using wide mouth jars, these are regular standard ones, but you can get replacement ones for wide mouth jars as well. And I have done that. I usually do either standard jars, like 1 cup, 2 cup standard jars, or 1 cup standard jars, or sometimes 1 cup wide mouth jars. And when my daughter was little, and I started giving these as gifts to her teachers, I would use the 1/2 cup jars as little gift ideas to put in like a little gift basket or gift bag for her teachers. Just a little sample size, basically. And I tell you, when you're struggling to know what to give for a teacher gift, something that's homemade like that always goes over well. I have become known as the jam lady. I've also become known as the bird lady at my work, but I have given jars of jam to some of my coworkers, and certainly I believe between my daughter's bowling coaches and teachers over the years, I definitely developed a reputation that they knew that come into the school year or Christmas time or any kind of special occasion like that, they could count on receiving a jar of jam or 2. Usually the little guys, but that's okay. I mean, it's the thought that counts, right? As people tend to appreciate, they usually know the amount of work that goes into these homemade products. 2 jars. I should get 4 of these large jars out of this. These jars are fairly hot from being in the dishwasher. That's good. It does a good job. There's no detergent in the dishwasher. It's just simply, these are clean jars. And they're being sanitized by the hot water in the dishwasher. No detergent, none of that, because I don't want to have any residue of detergent in there. But they are clean jars to begin with, so I made sure the jars were clean. Most of these came right out of a brand new box that hadn't been opened. So this is basically just, they've been rinsed off, dusted off, and now they're just being sanitized by plain hot water in the dishwasher rather. How can you tell it's been a long work day? I'm starting to stumble over my words. So then I'll just simply do this one more time, round 2, which I won't bother doing on camera because you've seen it now. But I will come back and show you the final product once I have both batches complete. And then it's a question of, do I feel up cleaning my kitchen tonight once that's all said and done? Well, do I feel like it? No. But will I do it? Probably. At least to the point of getting my dishes and stuff into the dishwasher. At least that will probably get done. Now, we're on the 4th jar, which is what this batch should make. It should make 4 jars. And we'll see if I have enough left to make either a 1/2 cup jar or a 1 cup jar after. Usually it's right to exactly what the recipe says, but sometimes you might have a little bit extra. And if it's not, then I'll just leave whatever residue there is in in the pot and add my next batch of peaches and sugar and so forth to it. And then that might gain me one extra jar on batch number 2. I'll see. I gotta put that down for a second, and I have a feeling I might get a second. I might get a 5th jar, but it might be just a little guy though. I don't know that I'm gonna get a full cup. If I get anything, it might be the half cup. And that may not even happen. I may end up measuring it out and find out it's not full. And if it's not a full half cup, then I'm probably not gonna bother, because it's not something I would give away if it's not full. Even if it's half cup jar, like to me, that is the bare minimum. So if I can't even give somebody a complete half cup, then to me that almost looks like I'm being cheap, which I'm not. It's just that I ran out of stuff. But still, it's like, that's the smallest jar you can get, other than doing like a baby food jar. So if I can't even manage to fill that, why would I give that away? That's like the tiniest jar you can buy. So if I measure it into the half cup right now, and I don't even have that much, then I'll just pour it back in the pot and add it to batch number 2, because I'm not giving something away that's only like a 1/3 of a cup. But I do have my half cup over here, so let's see. I don't have enough in there to make an extra 1 cup, so there's no point in even trying. But I might get a half cup out of this. This is a half cup measuring cup that I'm using, but it wasn't completely full. Oh yeah, I could get a good size, a good half cup out of this. It'll be full right to the brim. You don't want to fill it completely tight to the absolute rim though, because there has to be a little bit of room for expansion when the seal, like you'll hear them start popping. I don't know if I'll be filming when they start popping or not, when the seal sets, but they will set most of the time. I mean, 9 times out of 10 they do. Every so often you get the odd one that doesn't, and then that's one that I do not give away or sell because it's not set. It's not, it goes right in the fridge and it gets eaten by us as soon as possible. But if it sets fine, it can sit on the shelf for 2 years. You know, it's got a good long life, shelf life, if it seals. But you want to fill them full, because you don't want to be, if you're giving them as gifts or you're selling them or whatever, you don't want to have them like not full. But you don't want to have them so over full that when they expand, that there's no room for expansion. Okay, so that is it. I do not need my 2 1 cup jars. I can see that. So I'll take that out, but I will get 1 other half cup jar because it looks like I'm going to need that for batch number 2. So I will come back at the end once I've done my second batch and show you what I got in total out of the 2 batches. And then at that point I'll call it a night because I'll need to clean my kitchen, and I don't think you want to see that on camera because I've done that before on camera and I don't think we need to do that yet again. I can, but I think this video is already getting lengthy enough as it is. So I'll be back once I'm all said and done. Okay, we are back. We are going to fill up the jars for batch number 2, the final batch that we're doing. Just finished adding the liquid pectin. We're all good. Now I just need to ladle it into these jars, or not ladle. I keep saying that. That's the term, but it's not what I'm using. I'm not using a ladle. I'm using a measuring cup. And we should get another 4 full cups, or 4 full size jars, and probably a half cup jar. We'll see. I don't think we'll get a 1 cup jar. We didn't out of the first batch, so I don't think we will out of this one, and that's okay. And I do have like 8 more peaches left over. I could try and do a 3rd batch if I wanted, but I do have a limited amount of jars left over and a limited amount of pectin left over. And yes, I could buy more, but I am between paychecks, so I kind of just want to save what I have left of the pectin and jars for when I do my choke cherry jelly and my pear jam. And what I might do is just make maybe a peach pie out of the rest, and maybe save a few for eating. We'll see. I do have a recipe for a peach blueberry pie. I don't know if I have frozen blueberries. If I do, they're store-bought ones, not wild ones that I cook myself or that I bought from a farmer's market or anything. And that's okay. Wild blueberries would do the job too. But what I have done is I've switched the peaches out sometimes for nectarines, or switch the blueberries out for Saskatoon berries. And again, I live in Canada, and I have talked with some of you about Saskatoon berries and how they're similar to a blueberry, but they're purple. They're similar to a blueberry, but they're better in a lot of people's opinions up here. They're a purple berry. Blueberries are kind of purplish, but more blue. But they're like blueberry, but a little bit more tart, a little bit more kick to them. Anybody here that's had Saskatoons a lot of the people tend to prefer Saskatoons to blueberry. Not everybody, but a lot think Saskatoons are just wonderful. So I have done it where I substituted the peaches for nectarines in the pie, or you can do it just with peaches, and instead of blueberries you can do Saskatoon berries or even blackberries. So if I do a pie, it'll depend on if I feel brave enough to try making homemade pie crusts or not, because I'm pretty iffy at them still. I'm not great. The first batch I did this spring were good. The last batch I did a while ago were terrible. Or whether I go and buy a pair of frozen crusts. I'm trying to just get better at making them from scratch, because I would rather do that and save the money than buying frozen. And plus I just like to know that I made things from scratch. But we'll see. I mean, I know my daughter wants me to leave a few peaches just for eating, so I'm not sure how many I would need if I made a peach pie. I did do it last year. I made 2 or 3 batches of peach jam. I think 2, I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at my pictures from last year and see. And I had enough left over that I made 2 peach pies. Those I did use frozen crusts for, because at that time I wasn't even attempting to make them from scratch. And I made 1 to eat at the time and 1 to freeze and make that one later. And they turned out well, but those were just regular peach pies. There was no berries added. But you can certainly add blueberries, whether wild blueberries or frozen. I typically prefer the wild ones, or you can do Saskatoons or even blackberries. So, and as I said, you can even swap out the peaches for nectarines and do any combination of nectarine, blueberry, nectarine, blackberry, nectarine, Saskatoon, whatever your heart desires. Basically, you can tweak that recipe as long as you're using the same amount of fruit as the recipe calls. The peaches or nectarines are interchangeable, the Saskatoons and blueberries are interchangeable, or you can just do a peach pie or a nectarine pie. And what I use for that recipe is, I do live in Canada, and I have a series of cookbooks called Companies Coming. I refer to the fact I'm in Canada because I haven't seen them anytime I've gone shopping, like cross-border shopping in the US. Any of my American friends don't really know what I'm talking about when I talk about that cookbook series, so I'm assuming that's something that is unique to here. And I like that cookbook series. I find that they're very easy to follow instructions for even a very new baker or cook, because there's cookbook recipes as well as baking recipes, cookbooks that are for cooking as well as for baking. And there's one that's specifically for pies, and that I don't follow all of her recipes, but I do use, like the sour cherry pie recipe in there, I don't use that one. I found a recipe I use for that online instead, but the peach pie recipe, or the peach blueberry or peach blackberry, whatever, that I do use from the Companies Coming Pies cookbook. I really like that series. I don't have all of the series, but I do have several, and there's a number of titles in that series, both like full-size cookbooks and mini ones and little spin-off type series, all kinds of subtopics. There's crock pot ones, chicken, all kinds. There's one for kids cooking, just all kinds of different things that different titles you can choose from. Christmas cookies, holiday entertaining. I use the Muffins and More one quite a bit, and there's one called 150 Delicious Squares, which has lots of recipes for squares or dainties. The Muffins and More one I use quite a bit. There's a banana bread recipe in there and a few other muffin recipes, and there's also a newer one in the series that's a muffin one too that I use as well. So, I mean, I don't use all the recipes, but I like them because the ingredients in them, for the most part, are stuff that's easy to find, and the instructions are easy to follow, even if you're a very novice cook or baker. So that's what I like about it. Because I'm not always the most confident in the kitchen, and a lot of you would probably be like, a lot of people have commented on my baking and my cooking and my canning and said how wonderful it is. Not to brag, but I have gotten a lot of compliments over the years, and yet I'm not that super confident in the kitchen. Cooking, I find you can sometimes play with the spices. You have a little bit of leeway. I've said this before. Baking, for the most part, I stick right to the recipe because I feel like it needs to be quite precise. The measurements are there for a reason, so I don't experiment a lot, except in the case of that pie, because I know that peaches and nectarines are pretty much interchangeable, and so are blueberries and Saskatoons. But, or say if you're doing an apple pie or an apple crisp and it says 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, I might put 2.5, because I know that if you are a cinnamon fan, you can increase it a smidge. That I know I can get away with. A lot of other stuff I just don't fiddle around with because I just don't dare. I don't have the confidence to do that. Now, I'm thinking I might have enough to get away with a 1 cup jar this time. Just looking at what I have left, and I think I might. It'll be close, but I think I can do it. So then that 1/2 cup jar, we'll just dry that one out and put it away. But I have a 1 cup in here. I believe I can use this. I think I have enough. I think. If not, I will pour it back into the pot, or I'll just transfer it to the 1/2 cup jar in that case. We will see. Because like I said in the first batch, I don't want to give away or sell anything that is not a full jar. That's going to be pushing it. Well, maybe. It doesn't have to be full, but I do want it at least to up to the bottom of the rim there so that the lid covers it, at least. And that is going to be pushing it. There are some friends of mine that if I gave that to and it wasn't 100% full, they would not care because it's homemade jam and they just would love me to death for it. Whether it be my hairstylist or a couple friends that help me out with things and they're like, you know, just pay me in jam, and if it's a 3/4 full jar, they wouldn't care. But this is not one that I would offer up. Normally, like I wouldn't advertise it as like a Christmas gift because I'm giving something that's 3/4 full. I wouldn't do that. But if it's just like, here, try this as a sample, there's a few people I know that would be perfectly happy with it like this. But I definitely wouldn't sell it to the people that order it from me if it wasn't full. This is reasonably, I can probably get some out just with a spoon to top it up, and I think that would be just fine. I think it's not going to be much fuller than that, but I'll get the last little drops out. And even what's stuck on the inside of the cup itself will come out. I'll use a teaspoon. I think we'll get most of that. Trying to get as much as I can out of these 2 batches because I'm not planning on doing a 3rd batch. So if somebody speaks up and says they want to order one of my big jars from me, I prefer that people pre-order them so I know how many berries I need to pick or how many flats of peaches I need to buy. But sometimes people forget and they ask me after, so I like to make sure I have a good number of jars made so I have enough for us to eat, and also, you know, just in case somebody does ask to order one after the fact or buy one. And I do my fire hall deliveries 3 times a year, Christmas Eve and Easter, and in August for my Uncle Jack's birthday. And when I take those baskets of baking to the fire hall, I always take a couple of jars of jam too for the men. Because these poor, or men and women I guess, because these poor folks are stuck there overnight, and so why not give them a few jars of jam so that they can have something homemade and fresh on their bagels or toast or whatever it is they're having. Okay, that is not, it's full, like it's just under. I don't think there's any more I'm going to get out of there. I really don't think. But that's okay, that is pretty darn close. If it was anything less than that, I would skip it and not bother, but I think it'll be okay. When I go for my next hair appointment at the end of September, for color and highlights and get rid of these horrible gray roots. Maybe I'll give these to give it to my hairdresser and let her try, because I don't think I've ever given her one of my jams. Yeah, so you can kind of see under the rim that it's not quite, there's a little bit of space there. Normally I like that to be completely covered, but it's like we're talking like a 1/2 inch, if that, or 1/4 inch even. So that's just me being picky, but I would like to see it a smidge fuller. But I got an extra jar out of the batch, so I'm happy with that. Now I gotta load the dishwasher, and that'll be enough fun for one night. Close enough. I don't need all these pot holders on the counter. I'll just put them like that. There we go. Good enough. These guys I'm probably going to put in the wash. There's some peach syrupy type stuff all over my pot holders, so okay. All right. Just to wrap this up, 2 batches of peach jam. I got 8 500 ml or 2 cup jars, and 1 250 ml or 1 cup jar, and 1 1/2 cup or 125 ml jar. So that is where we're at. Now I just got to put these things in the dishwasher, get this tidied up a little bit. I'm probably not going to worry about the glass part of the blender so much, because I'm just going to rinse that out. Because if I do, well, mind you, if I do peach pie tomorrow. I won't be pureeing them. I'll just be cutting them up on the cutting board. We'll see. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to put that part in the dishwasher unless I take all the innards out, and I'm not going to bother with that at this hour of the night. But I do have some ground beef that I got divided up into packages. That has to go in the freezer. These peaches left over should really probably go in the fridge. And all this stuff needs to go in the dishwasher. And it's 10:17. I have had a full day of work and this and making a mess in my kitchen. So I'm done. Okay, everyone, see, I'm plenty warm. Even though this house is air conditioned, I have managed to heat it up by doing this. Cooked jam does tend to do that. Freezer jam is easier in that you don't heat your house up and get yourself all sweaty, but I just like it better than, I like cooked jam better than peach jam, or better than freezer jam. So, and it's worth the work, and even though the house is warm right now, it's air conditioned, and the temperature is actually getting cooler outside at night, so I could probably open the windows and it would probably cool things down. So I now have laundry to fold and a dishwasher to load, so I could take you along for that, but you've seen me do all that before, so maybe another day. I'm just going to end this right here. I hope everybody has had a good weekend, and if you have enjoyed this video, which I do hope you have, I hope you will subscribe if you're new, leave a comment below, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. It is Sunday night right now, so I do hope everybody has had a good weekend and has a great week ahead, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.